Hey, hello everyone. Welcome to Power Automate Desktop Training Tutorial. My name is Vishal Bambrani, and in our session today, we will continue to learn the Excel actions provided by Power Automate Desktop. The actions that will be covered are activating cell in Excel worksheet, selecting some cells in Excel worksheet, get selected cell range, copying and pasting some cells, and finally, deleting something from Excel worksheet. Let's see how we can make use of these actions to play around with the Excel data using Power Automate Desktop. But before starting implementation, I hope you all must have watched my previous videos covering few more Excel actions. If not, I would request you all to familiarize yourself with the actions covered under those videos as well. Let's start with our first action, which is activate cell in Excel worksheet. It contains a few properties like Excel instance, activate, column, row, direction, and offset from active cell. I've mentioned the individual descriptions for you all to refer. Let us implement this in Power Automate Desktop. First, let's launch our Excel file using launch Excel action, drag and drop, and let's go with the second option, which is opening a specific document, which allows us to select our respective file. Click on save. Under actions pane, simply type activate cell to activate any cell. So the action name is activate cell in Excel worksheet. Excel instance variable is already selected here. Another property is activate, wherein it gives us two options, absolutely specified cell and relatively specified cell. If we go with the first one, it gives us two properties like column and row. Column is where we have to specify the column index or letter of the column. And second is row, which is we have to specify the row index. For better understanding, if we want to activate cell C5, then column letter would be C and row index would be 5. Now let's see what this second option has to offer. Here it gives us properties like direction, under which there are four options: left, right, above, and below. And another property is offset from active cell. Here it allows us to enter a number, let's say 2. It can be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you want. So basically, it allows us to move to the specified number of places following this direction from the current active cell. What I mean is, let's say we have our C5 cell activated. So if we go with the current configuration, it will move to left direction up to two places from C5. So this means A5 will be our new active cell. I hope you've understood. But for demonstration purpose, let's proceed with absolutely specified cell and mention your C, and under row index, let's do it 5. Click on save and let's save this Excel and close it. So using close Excel action, click on save document, click on save. Now let's quickly run this. The flow execution is started, and once it completes, we'll check our input file to see if cell C5 is activated or not. So as you can see, C5 is activated, wherein India is written. Now let me close this file. Let's move on to our next action, which is here. There are so many properties under it. First is Excel instance, second select, then start column, start row, end column, end row, x-axis direction, x offset, y-axis direction, and y offset. As you can see, I've already mentioned the descriptions for you all to refer. Let me move on to the implementation part in Power Automate Desktop. Under Actions pane, simply search for Select Cells in Excel Worksheet. Drag and drop this action. The Excel instance variable is already selected. Under Select Property, it gives us two options, which is Range of Cells and Range of Cells related to Active Cell. If we go with the first one, it offers us four properties. So first property is Start Column. which marks the start column index or the letter of the first column. This is the start row index. End column refers to the end column index or the letter of the last column. And end row is the end row index, which is the last row number. If we go with the second option, which is range of cells relative to active cell, here it gives us properties like x-axis direction, under which it gives us two options, left and right. Then x offset refers to the number of places we wanted to move following this x-axis direction from the current cell. If we go with y-axis direction as below and y offset as 2, then it means from the current active cell, it will move to below direction to two cells. Now, for example, if we keep x offset as 2 again, then considering C5 as our active cell, it will move left to two places, making it A5, and then below to two cells, making it to C7. So this means it will select from A5 to C7. I hope you have understood this. For demonstration purpose, let's go with our first option and select A1 to D4. Let's save and run this flow. So once this flow is complete, we'll check our input file. Let's check this. So as you can see, A1 to D4 is selected. Let me close this file. Now let's see our next action, which is get selected cell range from Excel worksheet. Here it includes just one property, which is Excel instance. So it includes the Excel instance to work with. So it basically produces four variables, which is first column index, first row index, last column index, and last row index. Now let's implement this in Power Automate Desktop. Simply search get selected cell range, drag and drop this action, and simply save it. Let's run this flow. So once this flow execution is complete, we'll check the four output variables given by this particular action under flow variables pane. So the flow execution is complete. Now, as you can notice, we selected some cells earlier that was from A1 to D4. And using this particular action, we just found out the first column index, first row index, end column index, and end row index in respective variables. So as you can see on this pane, so we have first column index as 1, which refers to letter A. First row index is 1. Last column index is 4, which refers to letter D. And then last row index is 4. I hope you've understood this action. Now let's take up one use case wherein we have to copy the data which we have selected using the select cells action and paste it on the same sheet but at a different location. Let's say A12. Now, if we have to do this manually, we would simply use the most widely used keyboard shortcut, which is Control C and Control V. So to imitate this keyboard shortcut, we have two actions available in our store, which are copy cells from Excel worksheet, which will help us copy the data. So let me first introduce you with the properties here. So it includes Excel instance, copy mode, which gives us three options: copy a single value, a range of cells, or the current selection of cells. Then start column, start row, end column, and end row. And the next action in line is paste cells to Excel worksheet. So it again includes Excel instance, the paste mode. I mean, if you have to paste a single cell or a range of cells or current selection of cells, and then column and row. So this action will help us to paste the data wherever we want. Now, let's see how we can make use of these actions using Power Automate Desktop. Let me disable these two actions. Now, since we have to make use of this selected data, I'll let this be enabled. Simply type copy cells, drag and drop this action. Here, Excel instance variable is already selected. Under copy mode, as I've already mentioned, there are multiple options. First off, which is the value of a single cell, which will copy the single cell's value for us. So it gives us properties like start column. Here you can enter the index of the column or the letter of the first column. And then here start row, which is the start row index. If we go with the second option, which is values from a range of cells, first two property remain same. And then two property gets added up here, which is end column. So again, it can be an end column index or the letter of the last column. And then end row is the index of the last row. If we go with the third option, which is values from selection, this will select the data or this will read the data for us, which we have selected using select cells action. And we have a last option, which is all available values from worksheet. So this will read the entire data for us. Now, since we have to read the selected data, let's go with the third option. So this will copy the data for us. And now let's use paste action. So paste cells to Excel worksheet is the action for us. The Excel instance variable is already selected. Under paste mode, it gives us two options on the specified cell or currently active cell. If we go with the second option, whichever cell is active, it will paste the data onto that cell. But if we go with the first one, it asks us which cell we want to write the data on. So here, since we decided to paste this data onto 812, let's enter this and simply save it. Now, under close Excel, since we are saving the document, we don't have to change it. Let's run this bot and see if our data is copied at 812 or not. Our flow execution has been started. It has selected the data, copied it, pasted as well, and finally the flow execution is completed. Let us check our input file. Great. So we selected the data from A1 to D4 and see, we have this data copied the same way. Well, there are many more actions to come up. Now let's move on to our last action for this session, which is delete from Excel worksheet. As you can see, there are multiple properties under it. First of which is Excel instance. Then second is retrieve, which allows us to delete a single cell or a range of cells. Then start column, start row, shift direction, which gives us two options, left or upwards. And then end column and end row. Let's make use of this action to delete our recently copied data at cell 812. I've disabled this action for you. Let's drag and drop delete from Excel worksheet. Here, Excel instance variable is already selected. Under retrieve option gives us two options, the value of a single cell and values from a range of cells. If we go with the first one, it asks us to enter the start column index or the letter of the first column. And then here, start row, which is the start row index. Under shift direction gives us two options, left and up. If we go with the second option, which is values from a range of cells, so these two properties remain same. If we go with the remaining two properties, end column and end row index, so end column is the end column index for the letter of the last column, and then end row is the index of the last row number, and shift direction remains same. Now, since we have to delete the cells from 812, 812 to B15, let me save it, and let's run this flow. Once the execution is completed, we'll check our input file and see if the respective data is deleted or not. Okay. Our flow execution is complete. Let me open the input file for you. Our data is deleted. Let me close this Right. So this marks the end of our module. Thank you so much for watching this video. I would request you all to subscribe my channel for more videos. Also, I have listed down some suggested videos as well as the ones next in line for your ease. Cheers.